Hey everybody, this is TJR. A couple days ago, Greta Van Fleet lead singer Josh Kiska, and hopefully I've said that name correctly, I still don't know if I pronounced it right, made a comment that made headlines. Basically, he said it's time to stop the Led Zeppelin comparisons, basically stating that, we've acknowledged this, but I think it's time for us to all move on. And I don't think this was a very smart thing for him to say to the press. Now, I've enjoyed the band. I enjoyed their EP. I enjoyed their album. I admit, yes, they do sound a lot like Led Zeppelin. At least a lot of their songs do. Not all. If you're going to really look at their catalog objectively, you will find that not all of the songs sound like Led Zeppelin. There are some songs that move further away from that territory. But this is what has gotten them noticed. This is what has gotten them so much acclaim. And I will add that trying to sound like Led Zeppelin is not an easy thing to do. If you think it's so easy, you try it. But while I have, enjoyed their music, I think that all they're doing now is adding fuel to the fire for the haters. And I think it's impossible to not compare them to Led Zeppelin when so much of their catalog does sound like them. And when the lead singer himself, I've actually watched him live on TV where he's literally mimicking some of Robert Plant's movement. I know there's that little bit with the hand that I've seen him do, which Robert Plant used to do. So, and I get that they're kids. When I was young and I was first playing guitar, I used to actually imitate Pete Townshend's, whirlwind guitar thing. I used to try to do that. I used to jump in the air like him. I was a big fan of Pete Townshend, and I used to try to do that. And there were other things that I imitated, that I saw my heroes doing in rock and roll and imitated. You do that when you're young, and they're very young. I remember when their EP, which I still consider to be their first album, but that's what the record label is telling us, From the Fires, that's what I'm talking about. When that first hit, I remember I did a video called Greta Van Fleet versus Led Zeppelin, or maybe it was called Led Zeppelin versus Greta Van Fleet, I don't remember. But I compared their situation to a band in the 80s called Kingdom Come, who something very similar happened to them. They released a song that got on the radio, and everybody thought it was a new Led Zeppelin song, and it wasn't. It was this band called Kingdom Come. And then they, at first, were embraced. Then they also faced some backlash, too. And I said, that right now, at the time that I made the video, of course, I want to preface that, at the time I said, right now they're getting nothing but praise and acclaim, but eventually there will be backlash, and of course that backlash has happened. I said this in my original video about them, that while they will probably get a backlash eventually, if they try to move away from that sound, they will get a backlash from the fans who like them because they sound like Led Zeppelin. So the only way they can move away from that is to do it very slowly, one song at a time. One thing I dislike about a lot of the Greta Van Fleet criticism that I hear is that it's coming from this very kind of condescending, arrogant, I'm superior to you because I recognize that they sound like Led Zeppelin mindset. I think one of the few people who has not taken that stance is Anthony Fantano of the Needle Drop. He does not like the band, but he has given strong, logical reasons for why. I still disagree with him, but I respect his opinion, unlike that jerkhead on Pitchfork who criticized them for their clothes. If you're criticizing a band for their clothes, you have no business reviewing music. And if I could talk to Greta Van Fleet, I'd say, don't listen to this guy. It's clear, though, that Josh Kiska has been hearing a lot of this. They've read the Pitchfork review. So I guess that's something else that Greta Van Fleet has in common with Led Zeppelin, and that's a lot of negative reviews from the music press. Led Zeppelin, when they first hit, tons of negative reviews from the music press. I'm sure that Robert Plant can relate. Back when I made that first video about Greta Van Fleet, one of the comments I made about Kingdom Come and the criticism that they received for sounding like Led Zeppelin was, well, I'd rather hear a band that can imitate Led Zeppelin really well than a lot of the crap that makes it on the radio these days. And this was back in the 80s. And I have to say, I still feel the same way now. I'd rather hear a band that can sound like Led Zeppelin and do it really well, which I believe they do, than a lot of the crap that gets on the radio. Greta Van Fleet has been nominated for a couple of Grammys, so I think there's a high probability that they will also perform live during the telecast. I think a lot will be riding on this performance as far as their reputation as live performers, even though, they've proved themselves plenty of times live, but they did have that very recent SNL performance where they had a rough time with their first song, a real rough time. The second song, they stepped it up, improved more, but it wasn't up to the energy of the performance that they did on Jimmy Fallon prior to the release of their recent album. They killed it in that performance. And if they can deliver that same level that they did on Jimmy Fallon or greater at the Grammys, I think they will really solidify themselves as, okay, yeah, we sound like Led Zeppelin, but we can deliver it live. And that's one of the things I think is very good about this band, and one of the good fallout things I think could happen from this band. We have these young kids who can play really well. Yes, like any live performer, they're going to make mistakes from time to time. But overall, all the reviews I've read about them live is that they're extremely good live. They know how to deliver it. And as long as they keep it up, they're just going to keep getting better at it. And I think it's time that somebody set the bar up a little higher and say, hey, no backing tracks. It's funny that this comes just off of my video I did about Kiss with backing tracks. But no backing tracks. Play it for real. Play it live. And that's one thing this band can do. And that's why I don't understand the more condescending, arrogant haters who look down and call them posers, when most of today's pop stars are out there using backing tracks for their vocals because they just can't really sing. And while I really do enjoy the band, I don't believe they've earned the right to say, hey, everybody, let's move on from the Led Zeppelin comparisons. I'm sorry, you guys, too much of your catalog does sound too much like Led Zeppelin. But I do hope that in a couple of years, you will earn that right. And you will earn that right because you make it happen, because you keep working on your craft and your sound, and song by song, you slowly move away from sounding like Led Zeppelin, and you have what is your sound. And I do hope that happens. I think I've said enough. Now it's time to hear what you have to say. I'm looking forward to checking out your comments. As always, keep your comments respectful, and talk to you all soon. Take care. Bye-bye.